there are a lot of threats from China to India, but there must be a fundamental reason for that. What, according to you, is that fundamental reason?
The fundamental reason lies in China's perception of India. Very often when we talk of India-China relations, it's reduced to the boundary dispute. But as you said, there are many more things. There's an economic, there's a trade deficit which we've been suffering for years.
Right.
There's lack of equal market access for Indian products in China. There are tariff and non-tariff barriers against Indian goods. There's a weaponization of the Brahmaputra waters. There are weather modification systems on the Tibetan plateau which will have implications for India. There's cyber warfare, there's espionage, there's disinformation. You name it and you have it. We have all sorts of problems with China. But why is it that we have these problems? There is just one reason. It's a perceptional problem. In the words of, Professor Sumit Ganguly, who is one of the biggest sinologists in the world, there's a positional rivalry between India and China. Within Asia, both India and China want to be leaders, but China wants to be the only leader, which is why it would not want to share the leadership with India. We often think boundary dispute is the problem, but the problem arose way before the boundary dispute, back in the 1940s. Indian soldiers, as part of the British Army, were used to quell the Boxer Rebellion in China. Now, China talks about its century of humiliation when these colonizers or imperialists, unleashed humiliation. And Indian soldiers were used to unleash all sorts of atrocities or, quell protests. Logically, it's not like, India was a free country. India was also colonized. India was a part of the British crown. So it's not like our Indian forces did it out of free will.
Right.
But China doesn't see that. It saw India as an extension of the British Empire, even though the empire was ending in the 1940s. They have not been able to get over that, which is why till date you will see this constant tirade that India is a lackey of the West. Mao Zedong had even said, India is like a child tied to the apron strings of its colonial masters. We did not know this, that this is what China thought of us. This is how China perceives us. What did we do? We were the first non-communist country in the world to give recognition to the state of the People's Republic of China. And then we got repaid. And I say repaid with a lot of sarcasm. In 1962, even before 1962, it had happened. Prime Minister Nehru had gone up to Zhou Enlai and he showed the maps and he said that, look, why are these maps showing Indian territory as part of Chinese territory? And Zhou Enlai, in a very cavalier sort of way, said that, oh, these are old maps, these are KMT maps. So we have not had a chance to relook them, take a look at them and change them. And because we trusted, maybe we were naive, maybe we wanted peace, we accepted that argument. We didn't even challenge that. We didn't do anything. We inherited our borders from the British. We gave up our claim to Tibet. Tibet had an independent existence. The PLA marched into Tibet and, as they say, peacefully liberated it, basically took over Tibet. We never said anything because we wanted to have peace. Maybe the leadership immediately after independence wanted to focus on economic development. Maybe we wanted to have good neighborliness with the Chinese, but the Chinese didn't see it this way because there's a perceptional problem.
Right.
They have never been able to get over the fact that the British Indian Army were used to quell all sorts of protests, rebellion, etc. in China.
That's what has impacted their mindset in terms of how Indians treated them at that moment.
Till date, if you see, you can very well note this sort of a perceptional problem. How many times has China attacked us? 62, 67, 87, Doklam, Galwan, Yangtze, just name it, and just n number of times. China has a problem with 14 countries with regards to land and maritime boundaries. But out of these 14, there's just one which suffers this sort of a tirade from China constantly. There has to be a reason. China gives us diktats very often. Last year it came up with this ridiculous standard map in which it yet again showed Indian territories as its own. It also showed a lot of territories of Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Vietnam as its own. And the countries were, of course, angered by this ridiculous behavior from China, and all these countries made statements. Russia also did, because they showed Russia's territory also as part of Chinese territory. But they gave a diktat only to India, saying they don't read too much into the map. The signal is very clear that, India can never be an equal partner. You give diktats only to the ones that you think are inferior. Now, China tries to placate India very often, saying that, India and China should cooperate. On March 13th, again, the state-run Global Times had said that we don't want to be in an arms war with India, and we hope that both the sides can cooperate and look forward together. They give these narratives from time to time, placating. Actions don't really match these words, but they do try to placate us. What do they want really from us? For us to be an inferior partner to them under their thumb in their whole tirade with the West. Which is why constantly India is a lackey of the West. Then, it's a hot and cold game. Then, next day they would be like, oh, India and China are Asian brothers. Oh, we have Asian values. Oh, we are post-colonial societies, and so on. It's a perceptual problem.
Diary of a Publisher. Here we don't just talk, we explore, question, and push beyond the ordinary. And if you're ready to see things from a fresh perspective, you're at the right place. Make sure to subscribe. We're just scratching the surface, and the next conversation might just change how you see the world.